Your job did not fail to develop you, it succeeded at something else entirely. And the difference between those two things is the reason your ambition is gone. There's a moment most employees can describe with uncomfortable precision. You started the role sharp. Ideas came fast. You pushed for things. You had a plan that extended beyond the job description. And then, somewhere between year 2 and year 4, something quieted. The plans got smaller. The pushback stopped. The ambition that brought you into the building started to feel naive, embarrassing even. And you told yourself you matured. You didn't mature, you were managed. Most people believe ambition dies naturally in corporate environments, ground down by meetings, politics, and exhaustion, but that framing lets the system off far too easily. What researchers have documented across decades of organizational studies is not attrition, it is architecture. The conditions that kill ambition inside large organizations are not accidents of culture, they are features, and they were put there on purpose. 5 mechanisms, standard practice inside companies you recognize by name, each one tested, refined, and deployed specifically on people like you, people with enough ambition to be worth containing. This is not a reframe, it is a structural diagnosis. By the end of this, you will be able to name exactly which mechanism was used on you, when it was activated, and why it worked so precisely that you blamed yourself for it instead of the system that deployed it. Your employer never needed you to be unambitious from the start. They needed you to become unambitious over time. And the way they achieved that begins with how effort gets rewarded, or more precisely, how it stops. Picture this. You come in with ideas, you execute, nothing changes. You push again, the decision gets reversed. You build something, the restructure buries it. Quarter after quarter, your effort produces no visible outcome, and your brain, always tracking effort against outcome, draws one conclusion. Trying is expensive, so it stops, not dramatically, quietly. The ambitious thoughts come less frequently, the internal pushback fades, and one day you realize you have stopped caring about the outcome of meetings you used to fight to be in. The organization did not accidentally create this. Performance systems that shift criteria annually, promotions decided by proximity rather than output, initiatives approved then quietly shelved. These conditions reliably produce employees who stop trying. That is not a side effect, that is the retention strategy. The promotion trap works on your drive. What comes next works on something harder to recover, your perception of risk itself. The promotion. Most employees believe a promotion is advancement. It is not. A promotion is a trap with a better title. Every time you move up inside the employment structure, the cost of leaving increases. Your compensation becomes more specific to your industry. Your title becomes more senior. Your options outside narrow. You are not climbing toward freedom. You are climbing deeper into a structure where the exit price rises with every rung. You get the promotion, the salary goes up, the responsibility expands. You now manage a team, which means your departure affects people you are loyal to. Your job title, which used to be transferable, is now specific enough that only a handful of organizations at your level would even recognize it. The roles that match your experience exist in fewer places. The interview process for those roles is longer and less certain. And your brain runs that calculation every single time the idea of leaving crosses your mind. People do not make decisions based on absolute value. They make decisions based on what they stand to lose, your current salary, your current title, your current team. These become the reference point. Leaving stops being a step forward. It becomes a measurable loss. The promotion did not reward your ambition. It converted your ambition into a hostage. If you have ever watched someone clearly too intelligent for their role complain loudly in private and never move, this is the mechanism running on them. Share this with one of them, not as motivation, as diagnosis. The first 2 mechanisms target your drive and your options. This third one targets your perception of safety, and it is where the architecture becomes almost elegant in its precision. Health insurance, pension contributions, parental leave, gym subsidies, these are not compensation, they are anchors. The moment an employer moves a significant portion of your total value into benefits that vanish the moment you resign, they have activated one of the most reliable decision traps available. Losing something hurts twice as much as gaining the same thing feels good. That is not an opinion. That is how the brain is wired. So when you calculate whether to leave, you are not comparing new salary against current salary. You are comparing new salary against current salary plus the full emotional weight of everything you would surrender. Think about the last time you seriously considered leaving. The competing offer was real. The numbers made sense on paper. And then you opened a spreadsheet or just ran the numbers in your head and started listing what you would walk away from. The pension contributions vesting in 18 months. The private health coverage your family has built their medical decisions around. The accumulated leave you have not taken. The death in service benefit your mortgage depends on. Each item on that list did not feel like a benefit in that moment. It felt like a loss you were choosing. And the brain, which weights losses far heavier than gains, made the decision before you consciously finished making it. Every benefit your employer provides is a psychological brick in the wall between you and the next quadrant. The more generous the package, the higher the wall. If you have ever held a better offer in your hand and talked yourself out of taking it, you are not being irrational. You are responding precisely as the system intended. Strip away the money, the title, and the risk calculation, and most people would still stay because this fourth mechanism does not target what you have. It targets what you have become. Companies replace your identity. You don't notice it happening because it happens through language, not policy. You stop being a person who works at a company and you become a person defined by working at that company. The job title migrates from what you do to who you are. Senior manager, head of operations, director of strategy. These titles do not describe a function. They become the answer to the question of who you are when someone asks. And attached to that title is a salary bracket, a perceived status, a social position that took years to build. Leaving the role does not just mean changing jobs, it means temporarily becoming someone without that answer, someone in transition, someone who used to be a director of strategy and is now, what exactly? That gap, however brief, feels like falling. Organizations achieve this through language, through performance rituals, through annual reviews that measure your growth in terms of their organizational chart. You stop asking what you want to build, you start asking what the company needs from you. That substitution is not accidental. The deeper your sense of self is tied to the employment structure, the more crossing into business ownership feels not like growth, but like self-destruction. Ambition does not get killed in this mechanism, it gets permanently redirected away from your own goals and toward theirs. If this is producing recognition rather than energy, if you are feeling seen rather than fired up, subscribe and stay close, because what this channel builds toward is the full map of how this psychology operates across every quadrant. You will want the rest of it. The first four mechanisms work on employees across the board. This final one is reserved specifically for the people the system most wants to keep, and it is the most sophisticated trap of all. You become more valuable to your employer, and those skills become increasingly specific to that employer's systems. Someone with 2 years of broad experience can leave and land somewhere else without losing much. Someone with 8 years of embedded institutional knowledge faces a completely different calculation. Their skills are real, their value is real, but their portability is limited, and the brain, running its calculation in the background, registers that the risk of leaving has grown with every year of mastery. Mastery, which should be the thing that frees you, becomes the mechanism that tightens the cage. Organizations understood this before their employees did. Internal development programs, specialist certifications tied to company systems, skills training built around proprietary tools. These exist because the data consistently shows they increase retention. They made you better on purpose, so you would stay. The comment section exists for one thing right now. Name the mechanism that hit closest: the effort trap, the promotion cost, the benefits anchor, the identity replacement, the competence cage.
Name it, because naming it is the first move out of it.
Your ambition did not run out. It was systematically targeted. And the fact that you blamed yourself for it is the most powerful proof that the system worked exactly as intended. The effort trap made your brain stop generating ideas. The promotion converted your advancement into a switching cost. The benefits package made leaving feel like loss. Identity replacement redirected your ambition toward institutional loyalty, and the competence trap made your own mastery the walls of your cage. You came into this video unable to locate what had been working against you. You now have the names, 5 of them. That is the entire game, because the moment you can identify the exact mechanism that has been running on you, it loses the one advantage it always had: invisibility. If this gave you language for something you have been carrying without words, the like button is the fastest way to tell the algorithm this conversation needs to reach further, not for vanity, because there are people in your workplace right now running these exact mechanisms on themselves with no name for any of it. Share this with one of them, not as advice, as evidence. The B quadrant mind does not operate on motivation. It operates on a completely different psychological architecture, and that is exactly where this channel goes next.